What's going on, guys? K-Pine here and welcome back. Before we get into it, I did partially lose my voice recently and I'm just now starting to get it back, so if I sound a little off, you now know why. But anyways, in this video, I'll be featuring a very solid team in the Evolution Cup. Charjabug in the lead, Vigoroth in the safe swap, and Togetic in the back. With Vigoroth being the #1 Pokemon in this cup, you have to be prepared for it at all times. With that said, this team is designed with 2 decent checks to it, along with one of your own, in order to make sure that an opposing Vig never becomes a problem. And with all those Vigs, it just makes sense to put Charjabug in the lead, since it catches so many good leads. Whether that's the Vig, the Golbat, the Togetic, you get the idea. And if you get a bad lead in a Dragon type, well, then you have your own Vig for the safe swap to get you shield or switch advantage, and the Togetic in the back to shut down the Dragon type if you happen to flip switch. And speaking of Togetic, please run Ancient Power on yours. I'm running Aerial Ace just due to the fact that I don't have any charge TMs, but trust me when I say Ancient Power is the way to go. I've lost so many games specifically because I don't have Ancient Power to hit opposing Togetics, Golbats, Crocolours, Celios, and Charjabugs, just to name a few, for super effective, which is why I have it on the graphic. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle lead, Charjabug into Vigoroth. Pretty decent lead for us as we are able to hit neutrally with these Volt Switches and X-Scissors while resisting those opposing counters, though the Vigoroth does have access to Rock Slide, which is not great for us. So we're going to fire off our X-Scissor right away, just so we can outpace before my opponent reaches a Rock Slide, and we will shield up to respect that Rock Slide, but my opponent baits with a Body Slam. Little unfortunate because now my opponent can shield this X-Scissor up and make it to a Rock Slide of their own, of which at this point, I do not want to give up 2 shields in the lead matchup, so I'm going to let it go, but my opponent actually goes for another Body Slam, and then another Body Slam, which will just be enough to take out my Charjabug. So that's very interesting and well played by my opponent, that Vigoroth actually wins the 1 shield scenario against Charjabug, going straight Body Slam. So that is good information to know for the future as a Charjabug user or a Vigoroth user. But now my opponent brings in their own Charjabug, we full send that Rock Slide, we're able to land it. Make a little bit of a risky play here, go for the Body Slam on the CMP tie, expecting my opponent to throw it right away, which they do. So we take out the Charjabug, and now I'm looking to insta-swap into my own Togetic, and they have a Shadow Dragonair in the back. I can let this go because Togetic can comfortably tank a Body Slam from the Shadow Dragonair. And on this situation, I am going to be going straight Aerial Ace, or if you have the Ancient Power, which I recommend, it would be going straight Ancient Power, just because this is essentially my opponent's last Mon, and they have to shield to protect it. In most situations though, if it's not your opponent's last Mon and you end up with your Togetic on the Shadow Dragonair, I don't recommend baiting, I just recommend full sending the Dazzling Gleam, just because most Dragonairs will not shield. So by baiting, that gives them an option to reach another move and then force a shield. But we take that match, GG's to my opponent, as we head into the next one with another Vigoroth lead. So as we saw last time, the Vigoroth is able to win the 1 shield scenario if they go straight Body Slam, which actually means we hope they go for a Rock Slide at some point. So per usual, we are going to fire off the X-Scissor in the beginning, give up a shield right here, to respect that Rock Slide just in case it is, but it's another Body Slam bait. And my opponent actually goes for the CMP tie, which is crazy, as they fire off another Body Slam. Because if I just decide to overfarm there, that's a free Volt Switch's worth of energy. So risky play by my opponent, but it pays off as they can now let that X-Scissor go and instead come in with a Primeape, which is a hefty counter down that they're going to go for, but they will get it. A little bit of misplay by me there. I should have gone for the X-Scissor knowing they would have shielded just because I would have reached 2. But either way, we have a good answer to this Primeape in the Togetic in the back because it's a good answer because we can tank 2 Ice Punches. So if you could only take 1 and the second would KO, then it wouldn't have been a good answer. But in this case, it ends up working out. So my opponent now swaps into a Haunter, so it's a battle of double resisted Shadow Claws versus double resisted counters. As you can see, Vigoroth can tank 2 Ice Punches, but after they shield up that Rock Slide and then they continue with this Shadow Claw damage, I'm just outside of another Ice Punch range. So I have to give up my shield there, go for this Rock Slide. Hopefully it's enough to KO the Haunter. It's just not, but the ensuing counters are. And at this point, my opponent has to go for the counter down for their win condition, but they're not able to do so. Vigoroth's able to hang on, reach one last body slam to take out the Primeape. GG's to my opponent. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into Shadow Dragonair. So we're going to save swap into our own Vigoroth right away. And we're not going to throw our Body Slam, because in this cup there is Pokemon that can punish. You throw in the Body Slam right away, such as a Dusclops or even an opposing Charjabug, where they could just comfortably no-shield that. So you want to overfarm just in case they go for that catch. You will shield up the Body Slam by the Shadow Dragonair, and now my opponent swaps into their own Vigoroth, where that can allow them to maintain switch advantage, which is a smart play. And now my opponent's Vig is loaded on energy, so I will give up a shield here because I'm expecting them to go for the Rock Slide, as if I don't give up any shields, I will just fully lose my Charjabug. And honestly, Charjabug isn't that terrible into Shadow Dragonair if I have a lot of energy, just because those X-Scissors do absolutely chunk. So I'm going to load up to the back-to-back X-Scissors. Because my opponent did throw that Body Slam, I will be able to outpace to both of these moves, where the first one does get the shield, and the second one will do some nice damage to the Dragonair. So I'm going to land this X-Scissor, swap into my Togetic. We are able to get the Snipe, and in the back they have a Golbat. So this is Exhibit A, where not having Ancient Power is going to lose me this game. Because after the ensuing Fairy Winds, 2 Ancient Powers is enough to KO. But obviously 2 Aerial Aces are not enough to KO. And so because I don't have Ancient Power, I'm going to lose this game. And this kind of situation happens way more than you would think. So again, I cannot stress enough to please run Ancient Power over Aerial Ace, as that Poison Fang does take me out. Coming with Charjabug, just not able to hang on long enough to get that next Volt Switch through, as the Poison Fang does take me out. GG's to my opponent. Well played. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into a Shadow Golbat. Fantastic lead for us, as my opponent's going to swap into an Arctibax, and we have a good answer in the Togetic. So potentially a little bit of a misplay here right now, because Vigoroth obviously is a good response to the Arctibax, because I'm able to hit for super effective with the counters and the Body Slams. And coming in with Togetic, I do have to shield to respect that potential Avalanche. Plus my opponent could be looking to bait out my Fairy type. We do get a little fortunate, however, in baiting that super effective Ancient Power to get the shield, which allows us to then land the Dazzling Gleam later. And again, Togetic stuck up against the Golbat. What move would be good here? That's right, you guys already know. So what I'm going to do instead is save my Togetic for later, calling that it's potentially going to be good against something in the back, and hard swap into my Charjabug, of which my opponent then brings in a Vigoroth. And at this point, I'm in a pretty decent spot, just because Charjabug can deal this damage with the X-Scissors and 4 shields for my opponent, because they don't want the Golbat onto the Charjabug, in which case makes them shieldless for my own Vig to then land that Rock Slide on their own Golbat. So Rock Slide does land, is just not enough to take out my Charjabug, so I will go for this X-Scissor here, insta swap into my Vig, where at this point I will be able to outpace before they reach a second Poison Fang, land that super effective Rock Slide as I said, and take this match. Outpace before they get to 3 Poison Fangs, as 2 are not quite enough to take me out yet. So we do reach that Rock Slide, and this will be enough to take out the Golbat. GG's to my opponent. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into Primeape. fantastic lead for us as we resist those counters and they're forced to go in for non-stab Night Slashes. My opponent safe swaps into a Crocalor. Now I do come in with my Vigoroth here. If my Togetic has Ancient Power, Togetic is the better response, just because the move set of Crocalor is Crunch, Disarming Voice, and Flamethrower, in which most Crocalors are running Disarming Voice and Flamethrower. So if I have Ancient Power, they're forced to go for those neutral Disarming Voices while we can spam off the super effective Ancient Powers and comfortably be able to maintain alignment. Where coming into my Vig here, I am forced to go down a shield. Fortunately, we are just able to hang on, fire off this Body Slam to get a little bit of chip damage onto their Charjabug. And that's another good thing. I know it didn't in this situation just because they're the one who safe swapped, but safe swapping into your Vigoroth will sometimes bait out the Charjabug that your own Togetic doesn't want to see. So besides Vigoroth being just an absolute busted Pokemon in this cup in outright every single aspect, it works to bait out the counters of the Togetic as well. So we will shoot up this X-Scissor. We can survive it, but we want to stay healthy. Of which case we're going to have to shoot up one anyways because my opponent was at the back-to-back. And they make a very nice switch, switching into their Primeape to catch this X-Scissor right here. But at this point, this match is over because I can load up to the back-to-back Aerial Aces. Like we said, Togetic can survive 2 Ice Punches from the Primeape, in which case we don't even need to because we do get to the back-to-back Aerial Aces in time. For 1 Aerial Ace, we'll take out the Primeape, 1 more Fairy Wind. As a matter of fact, I overfarm way too much just because I know that they're dry on energy and make it to the Dazzling Gleam, which is more than enough to take out the opposing Charjabug. GG's. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into another Vigoroth. So just like last time, we are going to play it out, throw our X-Scissor right away. So it's before my opponent gets to the Rock Slide. X-Scissor does land, opponent does 1 more counter, and then the move for good timing. And like usual, we will show up to respect the Rock Slide, and like usual, we are baited with a Body Slam. So we're going to throw 1 more Volt Switch, and then another X-Scissor to get the shield back from my opponent, which we do. And now, if I'm going to see what my opponent wants to go here, or here, the Body Slam or the Rock Slide, they actually full send the Rock Slide, and because of that, we will now win the ones. So my opponent hard swaps into a Dragonair, we meet it with the Togetic, and my opponent at that point just does not want to play the match anymore, and they concede. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into Golbat GreatLeague, and my opponent swaps into a Vigoroth. We are going to go for this X-Scissor right away. So this is an interesting matchup. If your opponent goes for the Body Slam, you are going to let it go, throw your X-Scissor right away, and then insta swap into your own Vigoroth. If they do not go for the Body Slam because they want to build up the Rock Slide, you're going to throw your own X-Scissor right away, swap into your own Vigoroth afterwards. If they let that X-Scissor go, then you will tank a Body Slam onto your own Vigoroth, shield the second Body Slam, and counter all the way down, because you will get that shield back from the Rock Slide. If they do end up shielding the X-Scissor, then you'll come in with your own Vig and tank a Body Slam, as well as throw another Body Slam of your own, while then shielding their second Body Slam and countering that down. So those are the 3 possible situations and ways that can go. Now the way reason why I recommend chipping with the Charjabug first, then coming with your Vigoroth, is because a Golbat Lead or Togetic Lead with a Vigoroth safe swap very often has something weak to your own Togetic behind it, such as a Primeape, or more often than not, a Hakamo'o. So if they have that Hakamo'o, you come in with you saved your Togetic for it, you're able to come in with it, maintain that alignment, and absolutely shut it down with it unable to do absolutely anything. GG's to my opponent. Next battle, Charjabug Lead. We are going to overfarm by 1 just in case, go for the catch, and then go for the X-Scissor. In this case, it works out well for us because we are able to land because we win CMP and are able to land that X Scissor, which now leads us to dictate switch advantage. So we're going to go for this next X Scissor right off the bat. If my opponent shields, we will shield. And if my opponent doesn't shield, we are still going to shield, just because we want to be able to get this Volt Switch down. If you're able to get the Volt Switch down, fantastic. If you're not able to get the Volt Switch down, I like to swap and catch onto my own Togetic, just because Charjabug Leads tend to be weak to a Charjabug in the back as well. Their back line tends to be weak to a Charjabug, so I like to maintain health onto my own. If you lose CMP, I will catch the second X Scissor onto my own Togetic. In which case, if they decide to stay in, after you catch that X Scissor, you'll outpace to an Ancient Power before they reach a discharge, so they are forced to either give up another shield onto their Charjabug to keep it alive, or they're now forced to switch out as well. But in this situation, my opponent does come in with the Vig against my Togetic. We do spam off those Aerial Aces, and Togetic did its job. We're going to let it go and bring in our own Vigoroth now. If we were to bring in our own Charjabug, we would lose CMP and lose all that energy, but we want to hold on to that energy, so we tank that Body Slam, counter down the Vig, and in the back, they have a Chansey. So this is going to be a long and drawn out match, but we should have this one in the bag just because we have our Vigoroth for it. And at this point, I do have to be mindful in case my opponent is going for the timeout strategy, so I do want to keep both my Vigoroth and my Charjabug alive if possible. But as long as I'm throwing on good timing here after 1, 4, 7, or 10 counters, because we're a 2-turn user against a 3-turn user, we should be alright. So we are going to shield up the first Psychic, and now we have to be wary of the Chansey counts. If they're running Zen Headbutt, which they are, the counts are 10 to Psychic, and then 9, or 14 to the Hyper Beam, and then 13. So like I said, making sure we're throwing on good timing. And we should have this one in the bag, of which my opponent realizes, so they concede. GG's. Next battle, we lead Charjabug into the mirror. So I told you how we like to play this situation out. We are going to overfarm just in case they go for the catch and go for the X Scissor. Now in this case, we do lose CMP tie, so we're going to let that go for an X Scissor of our own. If my opponent shields this, we will stay in just so we can land an X Scissors of a chip, which they do. So now we're going to shield this in return and then land our own. But if they don't shield it, we are going to catch the second X Scissor. But again, because they shielded, we're now going to catch the third X Scissor. So we're going to load up on energy. Now swap into my own Togetic, and my opponent makes an absolutely insane read right there. They know they win CMP. So if I go for that X Scissor right away, then they're now going to have to give up a shield. As opposed to them throwing right away and not having to give up that shield. But them, like an absolute mad lad, they wait a turn because they're expecting me to swap and try and catch. So props to them, fantastic play, just an unreal read. Fortunately for us though, we do have a Celio on the field, so I can bring in my Vigoroth, tank 1 Body Slam, and get a very nice counter down to have a massive energy lead. So we do get that counter down before they reach another Body Slam. And now we're going to see what they have in the back. They come in with Charjabug. I'm going to throw 3 counters and then the Body Slam for good timing and to maximize my energy. But my opponent instead decides to get a Volt Switch's worth of damage and bring in their own Vig as a damage sponge. So I'm hoping that they'll give up a shield to the second Body Slam, but they're smart. They let it go, knowing I have an X Scissor stored, and that X Scissor does do more damage than Body Slam. So instead, I'm going to combo play with that X Scissor, get that shield from my opponent. My opponent is going to throw their Body Slam at the last possible second to take out the Charjabug, but with proper energy management here, we're able to counter down the Vigoroth, and as long as my opponent does not have a move, which they do not, we're able to throw one more counter, get to this move, and land the Body Slam to take out the Charjabug. So after an absolutely unreal read by my opponent, we are able to do enough to flip that matchup in our favor. GG's. Next battle, Piloswine Lead. Now this is quite the core breaker, as we obviously have to stay in because it would destroy our Togetic. But the best part about this is that Charjabug doesn't really do too bad up against Piloswine. If they're running the standard moveset of Avalanche and high horsepower, we are able to tank an Avalanche, get off our second X Scissor, which either puts them deep into the red or forces a shield from them and gives us shield advantage, to which case we would then hard swap into our Vigoroth. And my opponent is actually running Stone Edge, so it just completely one-shots our Charjabug, and now we're in a very, very tough spot, because not only do we not have that shield advantage, but that Piloswine is incredibly healthy. But we are going to do what we can. I'm going to try and keep my Vigoroth healthy by swapping to catch that Body Slam onto my Togetic, which now I can outpace to this Aerial Ace. Does get a shield from my opponent. And at this point, I'm trying to keep my Togetic alive, knowing that if they have a Piloswine on the lead, they're probably weak to it in the back. So I will show up the Avalanche, go for another Aerial Ace, hoping I will be able to outpace at this point, or be able to swap into my Vigoroth to catch the next Avalanche. But it's not to be. The Piloswine does outpace, take us out with the Avalanche, and now they swap into a Feint Attack Dusclops, of which I have no win condition left, so I top left and concede the match. GG's to my opponent. Well played. I do really like the synergy this team has, as they cover each other's weaknesses really well. It also has very few core breakers, but even so, and one of the main ones being Piloswine, you're able to get it deep in the red or get shield advantage as long as they're running the standard moveset. And speaking of movesets, I've said it a lot and I'll say it again, please run Ancient Power on your Togetic. So yeah, generally, this team does give you a lot of flexibility to work with and is one I can recommend. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.